In the ancient world, sheep provided an important source of food and clothing and milk and tents and even writing materials. And sheep were also needed for religious purposes, especially in the sacrifices. And generally speaking, these animals are usually helpless in the face of a predator attack. So without a protector, flocks could be easily lost. And when an owner was selecting a protector, a shepherd, he would seek someone who had a history of watchfulness, history of strength, somebody who could nurture, someone who had a concern for the weak, and the courage to deal with that predator. That person would really be a solid candidate for the job. And the Bible seems to be a good source of such a candidate. Many great figures of Israel, like Abraham and Isaac and Rachel, Jacob, Moses, Daniel, they all started out as shepherds. Shepherds were among the first to hear and see what happened on that holy night in Bethlehem. And Christ himself identified with the role of the shepherd, and he saw his ministry as one of seeking out lost sheep. And when Jesus was ready to relinquish his ministry to his friends, he passed the shepherd's cane, so to speak, with the words, "Feed my sheep." And even though today's gospel is only 62 words long, I think it's powerful. It's powerful because Jesus says, "I know them." Those are words 6 to 8. He knows us, and he wants us to follow him. We are the sheep, and he loves us. I find that amazing. When my daughter was a small child, she had a little stuffed lamb. And when she couldn't find it, she would say, "Where's my little sheepy?" And she'd cry until she found it. And of course, when she found it, she would hug it, and she would kiss it, she would cuddle it. So how does this fit in today's gospel reading? Well, I made a retreat not too long ago, and the retreat master spoke about this exact subject: Christ, the Good Shepherd. We have all seen paintings and pictures and statues and the like of Christ finding the lost sheep. And somehow Jesus is holding the sheep in his arms. Some show the sheep around his neck. And there's the words from that song, he's holding them gently to his heart. Well, through the technique of guided imagery, Father, the retreat master, painted a different image, and I think a more realistic one, of that good shepherd. I would like to do that imagery, but time would not permit it. So let me describe the picture that he painted of that good shepherd. You can close your eyes if you want. It's around midnight in the Judean hills. It's windy, it's cold, and it's rainy. And in front of the shepherd is a flock of about 200 sheep or so. They are soaking wet. They're full of mud and what have you, and they stink. They are also restless. Lightning flashes followed by the thunder, and the shepherd looks out, and he saw one of the sheep from the flock run away, and he immediately goes after it. And after much ado, he catches it and brings it back. That's right. He is carrying that wet, muddy, stinky, wiggling lamb back to the flock. What a sight. Yes, You're right. That wet, stinky, muddy lamb is you and it's me. And let's be honest with ourselves, that at times, for whatever reason, we want to be in control of things. We want to do things our way. And who knows what we are hiding down deep in our hearts. But that really doesn't matter, because in those 62 words of today's gospel, Jesus is telling us, regardless of what we are guilty of, we still belong to him. He offers us eternal life and that nobody, and I repeat, that nobody can ever take out of his hands. Those are words 30 to 33. For whatever reason that we may distance ourselves from him, he will come after us, so that we will always be part of that flock. Anyway, we look at Jesus, the Good Shepherd, well, he'll always be there for us, regardless of who we are or where we are in our lives. He meets us where we are. Words 3 to 7, and that we hear his voice. But that's the problem. However, do we listen? Do we listen to his voice? In our present day, there's so much going on in our lives. We hear a lot every day, but do we listen a lot? Do we listen a lot? Somehow, some way, we need to turn off those cell phones and all those pods they have out there, and somehow find time in our busy day to listen to the shepherd's voice. I know that we are well aware that he's always there for us, but do we listen to what he is saying to us? Even with all that's happening in our city and in our country and in our world and in our lives, we need more than ever to listen. We need to take time in the silence of our heart to do that listening. If sometimes we have difficulty sleeping at night, get up, sit in the dark, and listen. At work, we may eat lunch alone or go for a short walk during your break. If none of these suggestions work for you, try getting up a little earlier in the morning. It doesn't matter where we are in that flock. He knows where we are. Words 8 to 10 of the gospel tells us so. And in closing, those 62 words of today's gospel are powerful. We are blessed to be part of that flock. We know that our shepherd will carry us in his arms even when we are wet, smelly, and muddy. Jesus, our shepherd, understands our fears. He understands our joys, and he understands our fundamental worth. He leads us to where he himself wants to go. And just like in the words of Psalm 23, he leads us toward green pastures and restful waters that restore the soul. Nothing can ever interfere with Jesus' care for us. We are secure in his hands. We are never alone, for he is the Good Shepherd.